What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with two of the best in the industry at breaking down injury information and giving the analysis on the rotations and how it will impact the games tonight. Mike Gallagher from Established Run and Justin Fan from Fan. Justin, how are you doing on this fine 6-game slate? Showing me a little appetizer for a big Saturday 13-gamer.
Yeah, did absolutely zero prep for this show. The last couple hours, I was just studying the My Guy draft to make sure I wouldn't be, deep in fines again this show. So I got that going for me.
Love to see it, Mike. You're doing much better health-wise this Friday than last Friday. How are you feeling? How you doing?
Doing good. Wanted to get a hike in this morning, but it's raining here in Arizona for like once in a blue moon, so I'm sad. But yeah, when we talk Dallas, there's a pretty good chance that you're not going to get a My Guy fine for the players that we trotting out there. So you could let them fly when we get to Dallas. It should be fun.
Did Sam not draft AJ Lawson or Dexter?
No.
Dexter Dennis. Yep.
No, Dexter Dennis. No, not selected in the My Guy draft. All right, let's get into the game-by-game stuff. Let's start with Toronto and Philadelphia. Nothing on the Toronto side from an injury report perspective. So, Mike, I'll just drop it with you if you have any Toronto rotation notes for this game against Philadelphia.
Yeah, again, the beats do not quit, man. I mean, nobody wants a starting lineup change more than the Toronto Raptors beat writers. Again, we saw Jakob Poeltl's minutes get cut. That's been a big trend. He was asked about it. Darko was, and he said that, he's going to try to work with Poeltl to kind of get him back. This is really 2 games now we've seen him get cut down in favor of Gary Trent, who played pretty good minutes. We had an over on him that we felt pretty good about there. But yeah, definitely on notice for a lineup change. I kind of still don't think it's going to happen, but it sounds like it wouldn't be crazy to, pull out him to play Precious. Precious has been playing pretty well, so I wouldn't be totally shocked if they flip it and start Precious over Poeltl. We talked a little bit about how we may think it could be Schroeder coming out, but I think the favorite, if there's a lineup change, would be swapping Precious with Poeltl. Dan, do you have any thoughts on possible lineup changes that could come here?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I don't think they can go smaller here in the matchup against Embiid, but I do think a lineup change is brewing. You look at all the lineups, the 14 lineups that played 200-plus minutes this season. This Raptors starting lineup is the only one with a negative net rating. And you plug in Gary Trent Jr. instead of Jakob Poeltl, that net rating goes from, I think, -2 or 3 to +23. So they've been far better this season with Gary Trent Jr. Instead of Poeltl. And yeah, that Poeltl trade, still one of the worst ones in recent memory. Them dealing a first-round pick for Jakob at the trade deadline when they should have been sellers, if anything. Really just a confounding trade. And we saw Nikola Jokic throw up 31, 15, and 6 against this defense on Wednesday. So it should be GG versus Joel Embiid, who dropped 51 against the league's best defense recently. So great spot for Joel.
I should mention they didn't. I just want to add one more thing on the matchup stuff. We saw OG pick up a little bit of the Jokic stuff, but in the 2 previous matchups, it was Poeltl picking up Embiid. So again, Nick Nurse was way more creative with how he handles using OG. OG just doesn't guard on ball either. They love putting Schroeder on whoever the ball handler is, which was, again, like something that Nurse would, if whoever the best player is, that's who OG was guarding last year. And that's just not the case this year. It's kind of weird.
Yep. All right, let's move to the Philadelphia side of things in this one, which is a full injury report. D'Anthony Melton questionable, Patrick Beverley questionable, Mo Bamba questionable. They're without Nicholas Batum. Robert Covington listed probable. Illness running through the 76ers as it's running through the whole league here. The illness tags for Bamba and Covington. Justin, what is your read on who we'll have available for Philadelphia tonight?
Yeah, it does not look good for D'Anthony Melton. Took a knee to that thigh late in the first half of last game, didn't return, did not practice yesterday, did not go through shoot around this morning. So that progression does not bode well for him. And then to add on to that, they added Patrick Beverley to the injury report this morning as questionable with the sore heel. Beverley would have been the replacement for Melton if Melton misses. So they might be really thin today, kind of in that backcourt. If Melton and Beverley are both out, would think Danwell House would get the nod in the starting lineup. He was the first sub in the second half for Beverley when Melton was out. They could go to KJ Martin. He got some run in the second half too. Don't think they want to really dig into like Korkmaz or Springer, but like I think Springer would probably have to get some run given their lack of point guard depth if both Melton and Beverly were unable to go. So what that means is that just all this kind of injury stuff in that backcourt bolsters the minutes floor of Tyrese Maxey. Extremely high minutes where it could get into like 38, 40-minute range, depending on how short they are in that backcourt. And yeah, we saw Kelly Oubre start for Nicholas Batum, who remains out today. So Oubre should remain in that starting lineup. Saw 29.5 minutes, but usage was pretty low at just 11%. We've seen a pretty big difference from him this season as a starter, 17% usage, and then 21% usage off the bench. So Covington, full participant in shoot round, he should be good to go. And yeah, I think that kind of covers it injury-wise for the Sixers today.
Yeah, I don't know much to add other than just Marcus Morris picked up a lot of the cat assignment in the last game, and given the size on the wings with Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam, I won't be surprised if Marcus Morris gets pretty good minutes as they run bigger. You know, Oubre came up kind of as a guard, so I wouldn't be shocked if they like went jumbo here. And went Oubre as like a 2, Tobias, and then Morris. I think that's kind of on the table.
Yeah, Marcus Morris played 16.5 minutes in the second half of that game when Melton was out. So he played massive minutes down the stretch.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they're without Beverly, they're very comfortable with Beverly. He's been one of their key bench rotation pieces this year. But if they're without Beverly, I do think it's more likely that they go big than try to like squeeze the pieces in small, just because they have more comfort level with them. Those guys are still going to have to play the Newell House and maybe Springer or Korkmaz, but it's easier if they can play them just off the bench in kind of more limited roles. Let's move to Denver and Brooklyn. On the Denver side of things, it's a healthy injury report listed with available guys, but the only of note injury is Aaron Gordon, probable right heel strain. It's been the same probable tag we've seen for about a week and a half now on Aaron Gordon. Any notes here, Justin, on Aaron Gordon and the rest of the Nuggets?
No, just a procedural probable tag for him. Not really interested in Aaron Gordon here. Jokic should cook this Nets defense, and Jamal up to 32 minutes against Toronto. So good to see him kind of get back up there. Not a whole lot otherwise from this Nuggets team. Pretty predictable. They've been pretty healthy running their bench a good amount too.
Yeah, Malone seems pretty comfortable. We've seen Peyton Watson really play well, man. Hotels.com commercial coming on Christmas. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. It's pretty funny. But yeah, this rotation's locked and loaded. You know, Zeke Naji looks to be back in the good graces. We'll talk about the Nets in a second. But yeah, this feels like Denver could do damage. And should mention Jamal Murray didn't get the big uptick. We saw him lose the injury tag last game. We thought there may be a chance he gets like full. Didn't quite happen. And should note they're on a back-to-back today. So they were at Charlotte tomorrow. So something to keep in mind with possible minute ceilings, or if they want to manage and maybe sit guys out tomorrow.
All right, on to the Brooklyn side of things, where Dennis Smith Jr. is listed available. He's been out for a little while, so getting him back should add some depth to the backcourt. Still without Lonnie Walker and Ben Simmons. Justin, what are your notes here on the Nets?
Yeah, we were close to putting DFS in the projected for Cam Thomas. Jock Vaughn's been talking about the lineup change for a bit. I would say it's probably two things that are contributing a lot to the recent slump. Is first, Mikal Bridges is an extended shooting slump that doesn't help things at all for them, who they rely on so much on him for the shot creation and to carry their offense. Second, their defense is just getting killed in transition and in the paint. So would think, DFS for Cam makes a lot of sense. And I think a couple things are working against Cam Thomas's minutes today. You got the possible lineup change with DFS, and then the return of Dennis Smith Jr. as well. They've basically been running without a true guard in that second unit. It's been like Jalen Wilson has kind of slid over a little bit to play some 2, but he's more of a 3. Adding DSJ back in the mix gives them a good option. He's been really solid for them overall. And the last game that DSJ played was back on December 6th. And we saw some minutes in that game for both Dinwiddie and Cam Thomas. Dinwiddie played 28 in that game, and Cam Thomas played 27 in that game. So, both those things, the lineup change and DSJ, kind of make Cam Thomas's role today a little bit shaky.
Yeah, and just to put some stats on that, I'm with you. Of all the me, I love to talk about lineup changes coming, and it's like a big deal for coaches to do that. But I'm almost like you said, I'm pretty confident. And just some stats on that, there are 37 lineups with 100 minutes. The current net starting lineup with Cam Thomas is the worst in the NBA. They're dead last in rebounding of those lineups. Their defense is terrible. It's got to go, man. And why wouldn't you do it against this big Denver front court? It feels like it's so due here. So at this point, like you said, I almost did it too. But I think that they're going to start him. So that's Dorian Finney-Smith. And then, yeah, DSJ, as you mentioned, that game against the Hawks, huge impact. He was guarding Trae Young and all that. So I'm with you. I think he's going to certainly cut the minutes. So, yeah, Cam Thomas is who's going to also probably see KCP if he does start. So really, like, everything's working against this guy today.
Let's move to Atlanta and Miami. On the Atlanta side of things, Jalen Johnson's still listed out here. AJ Griffin still out with personal reasons. No other tags, though. We've had some Bogdan Bogdanovic, some DeAndre Hunter tags of late, so relatively clean injury report here. Mike, do you have any notes on the Hawks today?
Oh, just Trae smashing. Just night after night, he's going 30-10. The pick and roll game is really strong. The touch time, all the drive stats are up. He's shooting better off them. Seems like so long ago this guy couldn't score around the basket, and he's really taken off. DeJounte Murray shooting better off jumpers. We're still getting some overlap with the double big lineups. Sadiq Bey's minutes have been strong, and then pretty much still expecting DeAndre Hunter to still be on a minutes limit, playing through that quad/knee issue. So we haven't seen him really hit 30s, and I think they're going to kind of keep him in check to kind of get him to the holiday here. And I think they're on a B to B. Yeah, they play B to B, so I won't be surprised if Hunter sits out tomorrow. But yeah, I think that mostly covers it. Bogdan returned from injury and was totally fine.
Any notes there, Justin?
Nope. He hit on all Hunter minutes cap, Capella Kongwu overlap, and then Sadiq Bey minutes 37, 42, 32 his last 3 games.
Perfect. Miami side of things, Jimmy Butler listed out with the left calf strain. And then it's just kind of the G Leaguers from there also listed out. Justin, I'll let you lead with your Miami Heat.
This feels like a trap, but with Jimmy's sideline, I think we're going to continue to see the foundation of this Heat offense be that Hero Bam 2-man game. We saw Hero get up to 36 minutes on Wednesday, likely upper 30s again today as they lean on him. A great spot for Bam. Hawks get gashed around the basket and on the glass. So I like those two a lot today. And Jaime Jaquez, I think it's kind of a mixed bag for him. I think the minutes should be really solid. We saw him get up to 33.9 in that start on Wednesday, I believe. But usage has taken a pretty big hit the last 2 games with Tyler Hero back. 19%, 16% usage for Jaquez over the last 2 games. He was at over 20% in the 6 games before that. So I think Jaquez can get there on minutes, but the role has not been ideal with the return of Tyler Hero. Kind of on the periphery with the supporting guys we've seen, they're getting healthy. Outside of Jimmy, they have gotten Hero, Highsmith, Josh Richardson back. So we saw on Wednesday that Spo opted to run Jay Rich and Highsmith extended minutes off the bench at the expense of Kyle Lowry and Caleb Martin. So a definite floor on some of these other guys' minutes as they get healthier and fuller in that rotation.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring up Popcorn Machine on that because, as you mentioned, like Caleb got the start and then just got iced. They put Highsmith in there to guard a little bit of Powell, a little bit of Franz. But I wouldn't be surprised if Caleb comes back from the dead here. It's just a different defensive assignment, right? We know Caleb usually guards on ball a lot, and then that's obviously a huge concern when you're playing the Hawks. So I wouldn't be surprised if Caleb kind of comes back and hits like the mid-30s minutes that we were seeing him play before. He just completely cratered this last game. And then, yeah, as you mentioned, Tyler Hero, don't forget he was playing like low 40s at times. Played in too many minutes in the first game according to Spo. Roll's been awesome, man. 17 drives on Wednesday, 42 front court touches. He's going to have an elite role. I love this matchup for him. I'm with you. It's maybe like a little bit of a Bam spot, but I think Hero's role and this game being so fast with the way Atlanta plays, I made him my cover boy today. So I'm pretty big into what Hero could do there.
Yeah.
But it should be good.
I mean, Hero's playing like the best basketball of his career, arguably.
Yeah.
During this. He's been great. So, I like Hero a lot today in this spot. I think those two should be in really good spots overall.
And then, like you said, that's going to really like Hawkins' minutes could be really, really strong, but it's just the hero Bam show. Even when Jimmy plays, like they like that foundation of their offense running the 2-man game. But I think honestly, like somebody of hero Bam's going to go off.
Just sitting here watching you two talk about Tyler Hero, my guy, just waiting to see if somebody slips up. Just waiting to see if somebody slips up. Right. Let's move to Dallas and Houston.
Oh, we knew it.
On the Dallas side of things, big injury report here. All right. Out Luka Doncic. Out Kyrie Irving. Out Dante Exum. Out Josh Green. Out Maxi Kleber. Out Derek Lively. Questionable tag with Seth Curry for back spasms. Justin, you and the Underdog Twitter account are most noted in our world, in our Slack space for the number of players available tweets. Those are the ones that we crave most, because sometimes we're always like, how many guys do they have left? Like how many guys? So take us through. How many guys do the Dallas Mavericks have left tonight?
Yeah, those are always fun because we did the Hornets one the other day and we're like searching for Amari Bailey news. If we just got to get the back end of those, correct all the time. But I'm counting 12 tentatively with Seth Curry included in there. But yeah, I mean, I think 8.5 feels a little short. I have some alts on this game too on the Rockets side. I think this can get really, really ugly for the Mavs, just because they're also in the first leg of a back-to-back. So this one gets out of hand, they could pull the plug pretty quickly. And this one seems like there's a lot more paths for it to get out of hand than it is to stay competitive. So Seth Curry, that's a pretty big Q tag because they're already down Luka, Dante Exum. They need all the backcourt depth they can get. So it's going to be a lot of Jaden Hardy and THJ today carrying the bulk of that offense. They have just so many low usage guys around them that struggle to create offense consistently. You look at even Seth Curry, it's like Derrick Jones Jr., Grant Williams, Dwight Powell, Prosper, Markieff Morris, AJ Lawson. It's a lot of lower usage guys. So I think there's pretty decent blowout risk here and minutes downside. I would say everybody, but maybe Jaden Hardy has minutes downside in this one. I have Hardy at 35 minutes right now, and THJ at 34, kind of baking in some blowout risk, but I think there's a range there, especially for Hardaway. Kind of want to hear where you guys are at with these minutes. I try not to get too aggressive. They are really thin, like we said, but trying to figure out that range right now of like how high I want to get on some of these guys.
Yeah, just to start with Seth Curry. So he was quote unquote active in the last game. He's in street clothes. Like that was total garbage. But yeah. So I did the first run on this minutes when I was going through it, and my first thing was like, okay, I'm putting Jaden Hardy 38 minutes. He has to play. He's going to play garbage time. We brought him down a little bit just because it's kind of outrageous. Yeah. Kid talked him up in the last game. He's like, yeah, he's kind of got it, and he stayed ready, and he's kind of earned a bigger role. So the quotes are there. Just the lack of competition. Like they just got to play him a ton. I could see like the Luka 44 for him, honestly, on the high end. So really tough fade for me on Hardy. I think he's going to be a DFS staple. Then you ask, I think Curry's not playing, honestly. Like we haven't projected in, just kind of how we handle things. Yeah. And I think that Tim Hardaway Jr. hasn't started yet. So I still think they like him in that 6-man role. Like so many coaches are tied to that. Like Bobby Portis, for instance, Malik Monk. And I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is kind of in the same role. So he'll get an early sub. He'll play a lot. And then also another layer of this is I go back to the Jason Kidd Leadership Council day when they played the whole roster. And I'm like, okay, are they going to play Greg Brown? Are they going to play Dexter Dennis and all that? On top of that, man, this I'm like really shining here. So I go G League mode, right? Texas Legends, they played on Wednesday. So we saw Dexter Dennis and Greg Brown. They play at 2:00 today. So keep an eye on them in Orlando. Obviously, if they're playing in Orlando, they may be like fake active again. So we got to keep an eye on that. But yeah, there's a whole lot going on here. But I think there is a pretty big downside on the Derrick Jones Jr.'s, the Grant Williamses of the world. And then the center minutes could be split up. But I feel pretty confident that Hardy, AJ Lawson should have pretty good minutes. Omex Prosper should be in the mix here. I get to see their young guys playing pretty heavy here.
If you think that they're going to stick with THJ in that 6-man role if Curry's out, who you think is the paper starter?
If Curry's out, I think Lawson.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they would. I don't think they would go Omax, but I consider that too. But
they've done the Omax start quick pull before, so
yeah,
I think you could.
But that was
see
at a 3 though.
Yeah. Tricky spot, and I should have led with this, but there's only 4 teams of the 12 teams on the slate that aren't playing tomorrow. Dallas is not one of them. They are playing tomorrow, so front end of back-to-back here. So we'll see if they have Luka available tomorrow. But the other thing is with Dallas is they play on Christmas Day, right? So there's got to be a lot of pressure from the league to make sure that we have Luka available on Christmas Day, just kind of naturally. So this could be a tough stretch for Dallas here.
Where do you have Hardy minutes at currently? Like 36?
We got 36 now. Yeah, we've brought him down a little bit, but I think he's going to beat him. I think he's going to play a ton.
I had him at 36 before, bumped it down at 35. I think I'd be more willing to go a little crazier if this wasn't the first leg of a back-to-back.
Yeah. But they'll just sit him tomorrow. I think they just let him run out, and then they'll get Luka back tomorrow. I think. I don't know. I think XM and Luka are just being managed here. That's just how I see it. Because actually, I should mention too, Jason Kidd was he was kind of pissed. Someone asked him about Luka being too worn down, and he was like, "Hey, what am I supposed to do?" So play him 44 minutes clearly.
Yeah, I think I'm with Justin on these situations where when we haven't seen the guys play really heavy minutes, I'm hesitant to project the really heavy minutes. We can get ourselves in trouble with this stuff with Craig Porter Jr. at times and different things where it looks very clear that they have all the role and it should be all the role and all these things. But sometimes weird stuff happens with it when these players aren't established NBA players that are part of the rotation that they're elevating all the time. Hardy is the only guy though outside of THA that can create his own shot on the roster. So it feels like he needs to play a lot.
Let me ask.
We have seen. Really quick. We have seen it though. We saw last year when they were tanking, he was playing 40s. So
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
different situation.
That's why I initially went 38. That's why I initially went 38, and then we came back down to 36. But yeah, go ahead, fan.
Yeah.
One more question to kind of close things out. I think we've identified the 2 guys we're really interested in that have relevance in Jane Hardy and THJ, and we've covered Hardy. Relative to the market and kind of ownership in the field, do you think you'll be overweight or underweight on THJ?
I haven't even looked at the DFS stuff.
I'd probably be under. I'd probably be under.
First
I think he could be greater.
I'm more talking relative to projection props,
for sure.
Yeah. The market in general.
Yeah, I think that's most likely the case, just given the context of there's a couple things working against him, right? There's the blowout risk in the front end of a back-to-back. There's also the fact that while he is able to create all of his usage, while he is able to create usage for himself, a lot of the shooting baselines and stuff that have been derived that go into his projection are built off of him getting a lot of really clean looks playing alongside Luka and a lot of great catch and shoot stuff, not as much of self-creation off the dribble stuff. And so that's why some of these times when you're without these guys, you'll see the efficiency kind of crater in these situations. So we'll see where the market is. Nothing's caught my eye yet in either direction, but my lean would be more likely to be under than over. Okay. Let's move to the Houston side of things, where their injury report is pretty eventful as well. Tari Eason questionable here, Reggie Bullock doubtful, and then they've got the G League guys listed as available: Nate Hinton, Jermaine Samuels Jr., and Cam Whitmore, which you do find interesting given the context. Huge favorites here, front end of a back-to-back. I think it's notable. What are your notes here, Justin, on the Rockets?
Yeah, I would think it makes sense, kind of just what you talked about, plus the blowout, plus it being the first leg of a back-to-back, for them to hold Tari Eason out today and play him tomorrow. So I would think, if I had to guess, that Tari Eason doesn't play. And we saw huge minutes for Jabari Smith Jr. on Wednesday as a result without Tari. I mean, Tari's playing big minutes off the bench. He's playing high 20s, some 30s, stuff like that. So 42 for Jabari. But I think, this is also a spot where, okay, we talk about all the blowout risk on the Mavs side. It also applies the Rockets side as well. And great spots for a lot of these Rockets players today. Şengün without Derek Lively in there. You got Van Vliet, who's been absolutely crushing as of late, and even decent spots for guys like, Jalen Green and Jabari without if Eason misses. But, how concerned are we about blowout risk here and minutes being managed in the first leg of a back-to-back?
I mean, they're coming off a couple tough losses, and I think Udoka wants them to go out there and put up big numbers. So I think they'd be pretty aggressive. So I think they go out there and kind of lay the hammer early, probably maybe a little bit earlier plug pull, but it's not like the spread's like 16. And even when we saw a 16-point spread, the Spurs kind of hung around a little bit against the Bucks. So I'm in. I think the Rockets are really good plays. I mean, the liveless, they're lifeless without lively. And their rim points allowed in the last 3, 58, 52, 64. It's not like they played like a lot of rim heavy teams. Like the Clippers don't really get a lot of rim stuff and all that. So they're getting murdered inside. That's Dallas' defense, if I wasn't clear there. So yeah, should mention Şengün got benched. Like my cover boy on Şengün did not go well at all. So hopefully he comes back to life. Certainly should do so here. I think Şengün bounces back. They don't have anyone that could guard Van Vliet. I think he could play a ton, playing 44 minutes. The minutes are outrageous. We have him at 39. Actually, we ticked him down to 38.5 for the back-to-back. And then, yeah, my guy Jabari, best game of his life, playing really, really well. So I expect those guys to kind of carry the lead. And I'm with you. I think Torrey sits. This left leg thing has been really plaguing him since the preseason. So makes kind of no sense to play him today.
All right, let's move to Phoenix and Sacramento. On the Phoenix side of things, Josh Okogie questionable with a right hip strain. Nasir Little listed as available with an orbital fracture. Without Bradley Beal and Yusuf Nurkic. Yusuf Nurkic out due to personal reasons. We've seen some sort of flipping or losing of minutes for Drew Eubanks in the second unit recently. So the question is kind of who starts tonight in the absence of Yusuf Nurkic, and how does that impact the rotations? And with Josh Okogie questionable as well, that's another wing piece to kind of track as well for playing small ball lineups. Justin, what are your thoughts here for Phoenix?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out I try not to get too high on the Drew Eubanks minutes because they are really small otherwise, and they're playing a big front court, and obviously it's Domantas Sabonis, but they need size against him. So I had Eubanks originally at like 28.5. I think I worked him down a little bit to like 27.5.
Yep.
But I think in that range it makes sense. Kind of behind him, they have Chimezie Metu, who's obviously an undersized big, and then they don't really have any size. Like we're not going to see Bol, and then outside of it, just like a bunch of fours, like the Keita Bates-Diops, the Yuta Watanabes, the Okogies. Like, so I would think Eubanks plays a good amount here, just out of necessity.
Yep.
But he's a spot that we'll talk about the Kings in a little bit, but Domantas should just absolutely destroy in this spot against Eubanks and a smaller Chimezie, even in a revenge game against his former team. But like the spot a lot for Domantas Sabonis.
Yeah, I did the minutes on that. I 100% with you. I have 27.5 on Eubanks, so definitely on the same page there. I have 3 Kevin Durant small ball center minutes just because they have so many forwards they could throw out there, and maybe to kind of hide them in the non-Sabonis minutes. Obviously, you don't really want to do that, but someone like KBD. Or even Nasir Little, I could see trying to combat Sabonis because Eubanks, man, he's so mistake prone that he could just get a hook, and I think they could just figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Chimezie Metu's so undersized. We see him playing a lot of 4, even start as the 4. So would be pretty shocked if Eubanks doesn't start here. And then Josh Okogie says he's going to be a game time decision today. They would need him in this matchup quite a bit for the Fox assignment. So I believe he would start if he's available. And then Grayson Allen's kind of locked and loaded. If Okogie can't go, poor Grayson Allen will have to guard Fox. And then we'd see Nasir Little stick in the starting lineup with a little bit more of a minute ceiling just because the front court is getting a little bit thinner there. But yeah, mostly. So it sounds like we're pretty much on the same page here.
I do wonder how much experience Metu has going up in practice against Sabonis since they were teammates in the past in Sacramento, and if that is something that Vogel leans into at all in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, there's not a lot of size here to combat Sabonis, and Eubanks is the kind of the prototypical guy. I'm trying to think of I guess Sabonis' teammate would be the real prototypical guy that I would think he would absolutely destroy. JaVale McGee, somebody who's just so undisciplined with his willingness to attack shots and whatnot. But Eubanks is sort of similar in terms of without the athleticism, right? Without the same level of them. He's sort of undisciplined defensively, so really good spot for Sabonis.
So last Friday, obviously a different spot, and it's not apples to apples. We talked about Neemias Queta as the potential fill-in for Boston, and I was pretty adamant that I'd be under marking on him, and I think he was bad chalk. I get the same vibes with Drew Eubanks here, and we've seen Eubanks before in spot starts when he was on Portland, and he disappointed pretty consistently there, and was putting up very middling numbers, even getting solid minutes. So this is a spot where I can see. That's why I was trying to trend down with the Eubanks minutes projection, because I'm probably under. I would be under on him just if I had to guess. And I could see Tremezi playing decently and eating into more of the Eubanks minutes than we maybe expect.
Yeah, could just throw extra help that way too. It's one-on-one matchups not that I'd rather have Metu with help versus Eubanks without help, right? So I'm with you. I think he could definitely crater. So that'll be a good thing to talk about for DFS.
Yeah, and the good news is on this slate there actually are other cheap options. Like one of the challenges that's been happening in DFS, which I feel like maybe sometime soon, Mike, one of our podcast episodes will have to be dedicated to the state of DFS with some of the slate changes and different things that the sites are doing. But one of the things that's been happening this year in DFS is the pricing is so tight, specifically on DraftKings, that there is no value. And so that when one piece of value emerges, they don't even have to be good to be valuable. And so there's no decision point on these things. Like if Cato was starting, there would have been no decision point on whether to play him or not, simply because the next cheapest guy that's even viable as a pivot is $2,000 more expensive. So it's a completely different lineup build that you're talking about. You're not even talking about whether the player succeeds or not. At least tonight, because of this Dallas situation, there's going to be other value to compare stuff to. So there's going to be more of an opportunity to potentially draw into what's good and what's bad and different things like that, which is fun from a DFS perspective.
Yeah, okay. and I haven't been on the DFS streets that much because I can't play anymore. Given I'm working at Underdog, but I noticed that they start splitting the slates on DraftKings, I believe, where the late game isn't included anymore. So that just lessens the player pool even more. It makes it. I've heard a lot of people that are regulars and pros just kind of bemoan the fact that it's so hard on DraftKings to afford or pay up for anybody just because of the lack of cheap options out there. Definitely change.
There's a lot of unique stuff going on in space. I think Mike and I will probably dedicate an episode to it next week because I have a lot of thoughts on it that are perhaps, I don't know, maybe middled or different than what people would expect from somebody who's providing content on it and also has played professionally before on the DFS side of things. So I think I have decent perspectives for both, but we'll dig into it more. It'll be available on the YouTube channel now that we're putting our podcast here as well. So look out for it here. Sacramento side, questionable tags for JaVale McGee and Malik Monk. We know that Malik Monk has a huge impact on Kevin Huerter's minutes. Mike, what are your thoughts on the availability for Malik Monk tonight and for JaVale McGee?
Malik Monk hates to miss games, but I think the back-to-back thing does make me a little nervous on his availability. He was ill about a week ago, and he basically laughed off the fact that he was going to miss. So kind of think he plays a huge game here against the Suns. They do play another tough team in Minnesota. That's a really tough back-to-back. At least they're home. But yeah, coming off a really bad loss here, so I would expect Monk to play. As you mentioned, if he's out, that would be really good news for Kevin Huerter, whose minutes are just going down and down and down. We had him at 23, and we were like, we can't bring him any lower, can we? But we might be high. It's been that bad for him. Then the rest is pretty straightforward. We continue to see Keegan Murray pick up a lot of on-ball defense. He's going to probably guard Devin Booker today. I mentioned the Sabonis matchup could be A+ against Drew Eubanks. Again, kind of a rim funnel defense as well. They're top 6, I think, in rim points allowed. The Suns are 6-7, somewhere in that range. And yeah, De'Aaron Fox minutes have been down a little bit because of so many blowouts they've been in. But we've seen him hit 40s. So pretty good matchup, especially if Kogi doesn't play. So I think Fox could have a pretty big impact here. I talked about the hero Bam, one of them kind of going off, kind of same. I feel like Fox or Sabonis are kind of going off in this game.
Any thoughts to add there, Justin, on the Kings?
No, I had an under on Kevin Huerter last game, and those hit pretty. I mean, they they were switching the pick and roll on Porzingis, which is absolutely cooking Kevin Herr in the switches, just shooting right over him. I think he had like 3 or 4 straight buckets, and Kevin Herr just got pulled. I think the rest of the way, but yeah, if Malik Monk, obviously Malik Monk's a massive piece for this Kings team, just in terms of offense, shot creation, playmaking, all that. And they don't really have much depth beyond that. Davion is, closer to being, Nihao than on an NBA roster a couple of years from now. And they, I don't think they want to dig in like Kessler Edwards, Chris Duarte, some of these other guys. So, it'd be really good for De'Aaron Fox, I think, too, if Malik Monk has to miss. Right now, I like Sabonis more of the two, just because he gets that really good matchup, but could be a nice month for Fox as well. And Keegan would be in a good spot. His usage has bumped too with Monk off the court this season.
All right, last game of the slate, Washington and Golden State. Washington on the second night of back-to-back. They're one of the 4 teams that does not play tomorrow. They actually have 3 days off after this, so they do not play again until Tuesday. So, we have the 1-2-3 Cancun chance during the spring. We might have 1-2-3 North Pole chance tonight for Washington. They're 12-point underdogs in Golden State. I don't know if Golden State can blow anybody out at home anymore, but if they can, this is the spot of all spots for like a look ahead. Washington gets a win last night in Portland. They got 3 days off after this, the holiday coming up. I would imagine the Washington eyes are a little bit towards this time off. No updated injury report just yet, unless they filed at 2:30 and I didn't catch it. But Justin, what are your notes on the Wizards tonight?
My notes are I'm just going to take the overs on Jordan Poole shot attempts. Big time revenge spot for here. I'm so excited for this. I'm just low-key excited to see how the fans react to Jordan Poole. They'll probably be cheering him because they're just happy he's not on the team anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll take the over on Jordan Poole shot attempts, the under on Denny Avdia shot attempts. Denny's going to be doing a lot of the waving that he was early on when Poole was doing his thing. But in terms of notes here, I would expect Danilo Gallinari to be out today in the second night of a back-to-back. He hasn't really played. They haven't released their injury report either. And then I think Landry Shamet's still out too. He's been dealing with that rib sprain for a little bit. But notes here, Tyus Jones has been absolutely crushing. I watched him just take, I think the third quarter, he had he just massive stretches, playing really well overall. So he's in he's definitely someone you want to look at. And Jordan Poole, just kind of generally excited to see what he's going to do in the spot.
Yeah, we took Danilo Gallinari out of projections, put in some Anthony Gill. We saw Gill get some minutes, as you mentioned. Gallo's never played a back-to-back this season, so expecting him to sit there. Everything else I think you kind of covered. Tyus is just completely cooking. He was just taking it to Ant early, and they switched the matchup and put Tumani on him in the second half, and it didn't matter. Tyus is just that dude. So really tough projection because we've seen the minutes really crater when things go south. But I don't know, man. Like we saw Tyus hit like low 20s all the time, but I think he's playing too well. So I think he can maybe play, 17-18 first half, and then maybe grind his way to a bigger game if it's tight, and then still maybe get to low upper 20s if it's a blowout. But and should mention, the Wizards are playing like a little bit better. They got blown out a couple games ago, but they're in games a little bit more often these days.
They almost gave away that game yesterday. My goodness.
They did. Ant-Man, 22, my guy, 22 in the fourth.
Crazy.
All right, Golden State side of things, Draymond Green, of course, still suspended, still without Gary Payton due to the right calf strain, and questionable tag for Brandon Podziemski, low back soreness. Not a lot of depth here. They've been relying on Podziemski quite a bit of late. Justin, what are your thoughts and notes on Podziemski and the rest of the Warriors tonight?
Yeah, I had that fall last game, and said afterwards that he was already feeling better and then he was hopeful to play. I think it's still probably 50-50, just given how the fall looked. And players are always going to say that they're hopeful to play, they expect to play, they're optimistic, whatever. So we'll see. We would think Andrew Wiggins would be back in the starting lineup for Pods if he ends up missing. A lot of thoughts on this Warriors team kind of overall. Where to start? I mean, obviously the lineup changes. We saw last game how well Trace Jackson-Davis played, and Kevon Looney basically got iced down the stretch as he should have. Kevon Looney to this point, I mean, he's been, God, I hope I don't get fined, but he's been my guy historically.
There cannot possibly be.
I cannot possibly. If
you're good, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
The records have been cleared. You're good.
I'll just eat the fine at this point. But obviously have a lot of love for him and what he's done for the team. But at this point,
wait. Steve Kerr took him in the first round of this My Guy draft. Justin, you're gonna owe Steve a few bucks. Especially Steve's guy.
Just add it to the tab. It's a lost track at this point. But at this point, it's like really tough to see him on the court and the effect it has on the offense. I mean, teams are just basically not guarding him at all anymore. And the offense just craters when he's out there. They're 27th in offensive rating with him on the court, and then 11th when he's off the court. So, Trayce Jackson-Davis, a player that Dink we had talked about, heading in, that we liked him a lot, that we were hoping he would carve out some time. He had some competition, obviously, in Kevon Looney, Draymond Green, Dario Saric to get some minutes, but he's definitely cleared the way, and Kerr said he's going to be in the rotation moving forward. So he's earned it. This is a good matchup for Warriors bigs overall against this Daniel Gafford, who we always want to attack. But I can't go to Kevon Looney here just because I'm very worried about his minutes floor and how well Trayce Jackson-Davis has been playing. So, yeah.
I have two-part question for you, fan. Part one, what minutes do you have for Looney? And part two, what are the odds that Underdog's going to tweet lineup alert, Trayce Jackson-Davis starting the second half over Kevon Looney today?
Yeah, so right now, Looney, I think I have him at like 18.5 or like
18 for us, yeah.
Yeah, so not very optimistic on his role. I do think that's very possible. Probably not in this game because they'll be up. They're like 12-point favorites, so they're going to be up at halftime. But this is more of a situation when they're like down, 16 points at halftime. They need to make a change. That we're more likely to kind of see that happen.
Yeah,
it could also happen. I mean, tomorrow
Trayce just goes off.
This is a great spot just naturally these next two games for them to get Trayce Jackson-Davis like a lot of playing time because they're big favorites here. They're going to be big favorites tomorrow at home against Portland. The challenge is you got to kind of keep Looney engaged for Christmas because Jokic is coming up on the schedule. So that's one of the things that I would think is like making it less likely for there to be some sort of in-game thing as you look ahead to the schedule. And they're probably going to be doing well, as Justin said, these two games. And then on the schedule is Jokic, who they're going to have to play Looney against Jokic because they don't have other good options there.
Yeah, and just to add a couple of things, if Pods doesn't play on top of Wiggins, it's a little bit more minutes bump for Chris Paul, a little bit more minutes bump for Moody. Probably see a little bit more Dario power forward to open up, maybe a little bit more for Looney, maybe a little bit more for Trayce Jackson-Davis, and then higher minute ceilings on Clay as well. So, and Kuminga, my guy's also been playing really well too. He's been on a pretty good tear. So, yeah, the big win, a big win against the Celtics, and Steph goes night. The vibes are going to turn around pretty quick.
Yeah, needed that one desperately. I will say my team is still pretty fraudulent overall, but we'll take the win over Boston, and Boston continues the run and actual play during crunch time challenge.
It's incredible. It's really incredible. It's starting to look like a game of musical chairs in the Western Conference with the play-in spot where there are 11 teams for 10 spots, and Golden State currently on the outside looking in, but a very favorable schedule upcoming, a lot of home games upcoming as they try to steal one of the chairs from the teams ahead of them right now. But yeah, really interesting. It's going to be an interesting sprint this year in the Western Conference because I think Houston's made to hang around, and I think the rest of the teams are made not to hang around. So I think we're going to get 11 for 10 throughout the course of the second half of the season. Okay, that'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. Programming notes. We will not have a show on Monday, on Christmas Day. All of our content for the Christmas Day slate at Established Run will be behind the paywall, which... Hey, look at that. There's a holiday sale that you can get it for 25% off. All of our NBA products on sale, 25% off right now. establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA for more details and information there. Justin, what should we pitch the people on for Underdog Fantasy these days The dog bowl qualifier is gone. There's still battle royales going on in the NFL streets. There's NFL slates every freaking day of the week this time of the year. There's NFL playoff best ball contest going on, the Gauntlet, one of the best contests of the year to get into. There's NBA daily contest going on. What do we need to tell the people about over at Underdog Fantasy?
Well, look at you already doing my job for me. Playoff best ball, amazing format. We have an admin contest that I've been firing at, getting these Niners, Ravens, Eagle stacks in there when I can. And daily battle royales, Pick'em's great. Been firing there too. And, obviously follow us on Underdog NBA, Underdog NFL, and all our other sports. We're putting out the news as usual.
There it is. All right. If you like this content that we are providing for you free of service, please make sure to check out subscribing to this YouTube channel and get notifications whenever we go live. And of course, now, newer and better than ever, you can see Mike and I's lovely faces broadcasting our podcast as well, as we put the last episode talking the MVP straw poll up on the YouTube channel as well. So you can watch me glowingly talk about Joel Embiid, something that happens once or twice a year at most, but you can catch it there on the YouTube channel. Also, if you're enjoying this content, please make sure to help feed the algorithm by smashing that like button. You smash the like button, it feeds the algorithm, helps feed our families, allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to set your regular season DFS lineups and make your spread bets and prop bets. So smash that like button. Nom, 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 nom. Merry Christmas to everybody. We'll see you on Tuesday.